Hello, everyone, and welcome to another horror review. Tonight, I am telling the tale of Martin, directed by George A Romero. This 1977 movie. It tells the story of a young man who believes himself to be a vampire, goes to live with his elderly and hostile cousin in a small Pennsylvania town, where he tries to redeem his blood-craving urges. I'm sorry, I just took a sip of tea before it started, so my tongue's kind of went blah, 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 blah. Do apologise for that. Also, it's been a while since I've done one of these of my own. It's starting to feel strange. I've done so many streams now with co-hosts and guests and folks joining in and other streams. So it's a bit strange when you're by yourself. Okay, Chris, how are you, man? Yeah, it's a classic, right? I tell you what, put it on my radar. There's a company I follow, Second Sight Films, and they do. You've seen a couple of unboxings if you keep up to date with the channel, and they produced a special edition of this movie, and I couldn't for the life of me work out what it was about. You know, you see the pictures got the razor blade, Martin. It's a little bit different. So I wasn't sure what to expect. And then it popped up on streaming. So I thought, you know what? I'll check it out. I get about 10, 15 minutes in it and I realize I've watched it before. So I have actually seen this movie when in its heyday. And I'm kind of like, how did I miss this one? This is back in the days. You have your standalone movies and that you're not part of a franchise, a chain, and they're just these little quirky movies that pop up now and again, and you watch them, and they make you scratch your head a bit about the whole premise, and then you go away and go, "Oh, that was a nice one." So it's a product of its time. Now, what I will say, it's aged. So visually, it's definitely aged. You know, it's a movie of the 70s. You can tell that straight away. However, the story's still solid. It's actually got a good, solid story. And you do feel a bit of sympathy for the antagonist, for Martin in this. So we'll start off. He's traveling. He's on a night train, so he's going from Indianapolis to Pittsburgh. Like I said, this the whole premise is where he's going to live with his cousin. He's a gawky kid. You know, he looks so unassuming and awkward. Not, you know what I mean? He's one of those types you just pass by, you don't even put under your notice. But next thing we see him, he's breaking into one of the sleeper cabins, and he, he's got a whole kit bag, and he's got syringes, and you're like, what the hell's going on here? So he spotted this lady, and he goes in, and he basically she's coming out of the bathroom. He starts struggling with her, and he sticks her with a needle. I tell you what, don't do scenes like this. Is a really intense scene. They don't do scenes like this in horror movies today. It's all watered down. I guess it's proper. Oh, you need to be asleep so it won't hurt and stuff. And you're like, whoa. So effectively, he drugs her, and she's still fighting right up to the last minute. And one of the lines is she says, "Just take what you want, you know, and go." Like she's given up. What did you put in me? You know, because the drugs start to take hold, and then he basically strips himself off, and then there's this whole scene where he's effectively having his way with her, and then the razor blades come in because he's like sliced open her wrists and drinking her blood, and you're like, wow. So that's your opening to the movie, and this is on his way to meet his cousin. So when I say cousin, I mean elderly, like grandfather type figure. So we'll see the train arrive up, and then he's trying to sneak out, go past the actual room where all the shenanigans happened, and then this group of girls are starting knocking on that door, and he's like, "Oh, it's about to kick off," and it's they find the girl they're looking for and go off. So he gets off the train, leaving the fact to be a dead body, you know. And by the looks of things, this is definitely not his first time. You know, he's quite proficient at this. Oh, there's Albert on as well. Evening. Um, it's not that simple. It's not that simple. That's the thing. It kind of kind of gets really muddy. The waters get really muddied because when we meet the cousin, we see this old guy and he's in a pure white suit. And Martin gets off the train, like no alarms have been sounded, so obviously he's gotten away with it. And he's all like, you're here, right, follow me, we must go to another. He's very formal and gruff with him. And then board another train, and then they go to this guy's house. Now, you would expect the way this guy's dressed that they're going to like a plantation, like an old American plantation type thing. That's the way he's dressed, like a plantation owner. But they go to a city, in a house. And one thing they've done with this is everything's run down. Like everything, it looks like the 70s. You know, a lot of movies, everything's all glossed up, and they're all these like everyone lives in a mini mansion sort of thing in Hollywood, and that's what they put in screen. Let's see if my tongue will work this time. Right. So already you've got this guy, he's dressed to the nines, but he lives in this hovel, and it doesn't look appealing. And then we find out what the whole purpose of the thing is. He's like, Nosferatu, you will stay in here, you will not take anyone from this town, and I will save your soul, then I will end you. So it turns out the whole family has told this guy that he's a vampire. Like, it's almost like it comes from the old country. It's almost like they're of Transylvanian descent. But yeah, he has been told he's like the 80th vampire or something, the 8th vampire to appear in this lineage. So he's a spawn of the devil and they're going to kill him. And he's been brought up since no height because a letter came from the old country saying this one's a vampire. So straight away, this guy's his boiler's been absolutely busted. Like, no if, buts, or maybes. Like, this guy is tapped. And it's the whole nature versus nurture thing. Because one thing I'll say, the don't have any, there's no supernatural hintings in this whatsoever. This is not is he a vampire, isn't he? He's not a vampire. He is a serial killer. But this is definitely the whole question of this movie is nature versus nurture. If he hadn't been born into a batshit crazy family, would he have been okay? Now, would he have had social quirks? Would he have, that kind of stuff? Would he have still had that? That's part of the nature thing. But if he was like in a family that just weren't bonkers mental, would he have been okay? And this is what we see play out. So he's given a bedroom, and then the guy's putting has garlic up on his own door and says, "You will not come into my bedroom. You will not speak to me or something unless spoken to. You will not leave this room. You will, once again, you will not take anybody from this town." So it's all led up that he's got into the mental house, like just crazy, and then it's his granddaughter comes around. He's like, "You will not interfere with my granddaughter." So instantly, it's like they're related. So they're like, "This is a family thing," but he's already telling him, you're not shagging my granddaughter, and it's his cousin. And you're kind of like, "Oh, okay, get the banjos out." So all that stuff's going on, and it's all done. I tell you what, the storytelling's actually quite efficient in this. So you get this all within the first 10 minutes of the movie. You get the whole scene laid out. So that's good. You're not sitting scratching your head. What you're doing is playing out what you're saying is, how is he coping? We know that he kills, and we know that he's proficient at it. So now we're trying to find out how's this story going to play out. And that's cool. There's sometimes you just need that. You just need to go, okay, I know everything I need to know about the background and how this is set up. So now we're just watching how this plays out. And you're basically living the life with Martin. So what's even funnier is, right, while you're here, you're going to work in my store. So he has the fella doing chores around the house, working in his store, doing deliveries. So he works in like a deli, and he goes and does hand deliveries to houses. Oh, Lithuanian. So they're Lithuanian Catholics. And what's funny is that he'll come in and go, Nosferatu, just randomly at him. So the guy's just uh, off his rocker. We see that, like I said, he's operating. He starts ringing this radio show as sort of late night phone in, and he calls himself the Count, and he effectively tells this radio show about his blood cravings and uh, things that he's done and all, and his sexual hang-ups and that he can only do it when he's killing them and stuff. And this is all going live in radio, and you get the idea that he needs someone to talk to about this, and this is his therapy. It's like the internet with today. People just put stuff out just to get attention and that, but this guy's got serious issues, and the guy's treating it like entertainment, which I suppose makes sense. Like radio phone-ins, they've been since the dawn of time, and they haven't really changed today. The podcasts not still do them. But yeah, he's actually got the radio on the background, so you're getting that wee bit of back, because he needs to hear his own voice backwards. It's showing the whole his whole psychosis playing out, and it's going on. He meets Abby. She's a housewife, and he's somebody he delivers to. And we'll have a couple of scenes with her. First, she's like, he's sort of perving on her. Like, you're talking about from the front door and that, but she's like just going about in her shorts, and then she puts a skirt on, doing stuff, and then you kind of know something's going to happen there. But he's going around still looking for victims. So he's trying to hold his urges in, because where he is, I don't think he understands that he's in danger either. Like the fact that he willingly goes along and he didn't run away or he didn't do anything, he just meekly went along to his cousins. This has been ingrained in him, that the obey sort of thing. Another thing that's interesting is he does magic tricks. So he has a little fake guillotine and stuff, and he shows a trick at the table, and then he finds a magic shop and he goes there, and then he starts to rebel against his cousin, because he goes into his room and he pulls down the garlic and he eats something. He's like, look, no, there's no magic, and takes his cross off him and that, and just throws a temper tantrum, but he's getting sick of being, because this guy's like, he's working him basically for no pay, and then he's telling him he's a devil and he's going to get killed. It's all very strange. But he finds someone, and he goes to her house, and he does all the planning and that, and we see that play. Then he goes into the bedroom and realizes that she's in bed with another bloke. So he watched her husband leave the house. He plans on going take her. He goes into the bedroom, and then there's another bloke, and it's just absolute chaos ensues. And I mean, this type of filmmaking can only happen in the 70s. They're running about. They're obviously the boyfriend, the lover, is chasing him, but he's stuck him with the needle first. He's a big lad, so obviously his dose isn't enough to knock him out completely. But he's rampaging around the house, and he's hiding, and he's got another needle ready or something. And they're trying to ring the police, but because it's landlines, and this is something maybe younger people won't get, but landlines were a thing, and you had multiple landlines in the house, and somebody could pick up and mess. You can make calls if somebody else picked up and was pressing buttons, and this whole scene plays out. It's absolute chaos. But what he doesn't do is he doesn't kill the girl this time. He takes a bloke, drags him out into the woods, and he kills him. Doesn't have sex, but he uses actually a branch to punch her and stuff. And she survives this, but it's strange because obviously he's shown his face at time, so we don't really see how that plays out. But still, it's just crazy. So yeah, he goes back to Abby again, but this time with her, because she gives him a lift and all, and she's asks him around to do odd jobs and that, always when her husband's out. So he basically goes in and says, "You want me here for sex, don't you?" sort of thing, and then he ends up having an affair with her. So that kind of shows as well that he's capable of. It's not really a relationship, but to him, considering what he's done before, it's a relationship. He's spending time with her, he's having sex with her, they're having picnics together. She is like depressed, but we see us kind of playing out. So when that happens, he kind of doesn't go out for any more, because I think there's only like three serial killing scenes in this whole thing, so there's not a lot, but each one's intense, if that makes sense. Then starts Christine, Sebastian's granddaughter, tries it on with him because she feels sorry for him, and then she's like wanting to, I don't know, what would that cousins, is that second cousins or third cousins? I don't know, but to be honest, you shouldn't be thinking that way, any roads. You know what I mean? You shouldn't be working out how many cousins apart are we to make it okay. That's I come from a country like that. It's a bit weird. Yeah, people are legit working out how many cousins apart they are to see if it's all right. But that scene sort of plays out, and she's unhappy with her grandfather, just miserable. The town, there's a scene in the church, so Sabine, is it? No, Cuba. So Cuda. He makes Martin go to church because he has to, fit in, and I'll not have Nosferatu not going to church, which completely debunks the whole mythological side, because there we've seen him meeting the garlic, the cross. He's actually getting the hallowed ground, no bother. So we know it's not a supernatural movie, so we can put that aside quite. All right. God, I'm having a terrible stream today. Sorry, itchy nose as well. Doing well. So we know he's not having the best time of it. We know that he's with a crazy family. Yeah, the church is all run down. There was a fire or something. It was damaged, so they're trying to fundraise, but there's no jobs about. So everyone hates this town, and they're all looking to leave. Christine then decides she's going to leave with her fiance, but she's no intention of staying with him. It's just she's using him to get out of town. She says as much, but then she says to Martin that she will write to him once she gets somewhere, and she doesn't. So we're seeing a time span, and that actually sets him off edge. So he was actually functioning and coping, but when Christine leaves, that's what sets him over the edge. So he's ringing the radio station again. He's like, "I need to do it. I can't. I need the blood. Blah blah blah." Because he's actually talking as well how he's doing the sexy stuff without the blood and he's enjoying it, and things were going well. But then Christine leaving is what sets him off, because then he's now alone with Cuda, and Cuda is angry because this is not a nice man. This is an unpleasant person, an abusive person, and the fact that he's pushed away his own family is affecting him, but he's no emotional. He can't deal with it, so he's lashing out at Martin. That sets him over the edge. So it sets out the next time he goes, and Busy just looks for a couple of homeless people. And because he's jittery and on edge, he's like a drug addict. He's got the same symptoms as a drug addict, getting the DTs and stuff, and, needing his next fix. And he goes in this whole crazy situation. So he basically starts killing these two homeless people with an iron bar. and the police get involved. No, yeah, because he breaks into a store. This stupid. This is how he used to be careful, but now he's like on him. So he kills these two. He drinks from one, and then he just smashes the window into a clothing store to get his clothes changed. So that sets the police chasing after him. And then we get this whole mad scene where he basically breaks into a gang uh, hideout, like in a warehouse or something, and then he basically initiates a whole shootout with the police and this gang, and then the two police officers get killed, all the gang members get killed, and then he just sneaks off back to the house. Uh, that was actually the most insane sequence in this because of just could this actually happen or did events fall into place? But yeah, that happens. He goes back to see Abby, and he finds her in the bathtub. So she's topped herself. She can't have children. It turns out, sometimes you speak to him. Her husband's distant from her. She's unhappy, and they're almost like kindred spirits because Martin's broken, Abby's broken. They've sort of found comfort in each other, but she obviously decided she can't go on anymore. So he basically goes in middle of daylight, broad daylight, and finds her in the bathtub. That's we don't see the fallout of that, by the way. We don't know if he called the police or what, but I'm guessing he did because he's not in jail or anything. He's back at the house. And then it just carries on as if nothing's happened. And then the final scene's just getting woken up with getting a stake driven through his heart by Cuda. Cuda's like, I knew you killed Abby. Abby, you couldn't resist your urges, Nosferatu. And then and it was one of them shocking scenes that just come out of nowhere. Because you weren't expecting it, even though it was happening. You had an exorcist scene as well, and this is but really was nothing. It was a bored priest just sort of intoning the words, and Martin just walks out and leaves. So they almost redid. This is 1977, around about the same time, but they tried to do an exorcism on him, and Martin just gets up and walks away from them, and Cuda tries to hit him, and the priest just mumbles on, and you're like, okay, yeah. So it's nothing to do that, but the fact that Cuda ends up just killing him, ironically, for something he didn't do. Yeah, this is it's worth a watch. I'll put it like this: it's aged. Yeah, that was one of the earliest stories. Addiction, sex, monsters craving, being cursed. Yeah, vampires were. It's always been a good because, to be honest, I always wonder if people say they want to be vampires because yeah, you might have some of the spooky supernatural stuff, but you have so many limitations. Can't go out in daylight. You can't eat normal food. Blah blah. And that's the thing. I know you've heard me on this channel. Those stories were told for a reason. The archetypes were there, and the rules were in place. But because modern culture can't make up any new stories, they're taking like the vampire. They've molded and shaped and shifted the vampire, so it's not the vampire anymore. They've done it with the werewolf, the zombie, and this homogenous monster, and they're horrible. The story of the vampire is a tale of warning. The story of the werewolf is a tale of warning. Check out our morality and horror discussion. We went through all this. They're tales told for a reason, and even if you're not religious, they're still good. They're good fables. They're a good way to explain the chaos of the universe. That's what tales and stories are. And horror has the best. It's done for the best reason. It's to keep you safe. It's the warning, and it's to provoke thought and to provoke you thinking about your actions, so that we don't go crazy. As in, society that we need a society where so many of us but don't want to go back to living in caves, beating each other over the head with rocks, grubbing from day to day. That's not the whole point of being civilized. Whole point of being civilized is that we can function together and not be going to war every 2 minutes. And that's where these tales have served a purpose to, try and bring society to order, to use this is what can happen. And yeah, with you can debate the theological aspect all you want. I have no interest. I can take a story, I can take the meaning of it without having to look up to the sky, if that makes sense. You don't do that stuff. These stories are still useful. But this is actually a really good story. This is a good thought piece. If you watch this and you go through it, this is about how can you damage someone beyond repair, and where did it start, and at what point do you myths and fables and religion, where do you draw the line? And that's the whole sort of underpinning theme of this story is where do you draw the line with that sort of thing, and where is it useful? Like I said, horror stories are useful, scary stories are useful. They're useful for survival. They're useful for orientating your own personal moral compass, that you don't become a raving lunatic and a dangerous society, that you learn to fit in. But where does that line get crossed where these stories become damaging and can do harm to people? And this is another debate we've had about what age is horror appropriate, or what intensity of horror should people be exposed to at certain stages of their life. We know that completely mollycoddling and shielding people from the badness of the world and the fact that it exists is not a good thing. Look at today's society. We're seeing a lot of broken people in the world, and they're doing a lot of damage, and there's a lot of harm being done. And that's from going way too far. The pendulum swinging way too far. And I don't think there's a fixed point for the pendulum. Like this story, you couldn't remake this story today. It wouldn't have the same weight. It wouldn't be done the same way. It wouldn't have the same impact. So yeah, the special effects and that are dated. They're dated for the time. But this is still a good watchable story. If you take from it what it's trying to impart. If you're not looking at this is one where it's a bit beyond. It's not a slasher movie. It's not just a thriller. It's a thought piece. So you gotta go on with that expectation. George A Romero, he's an amazing storyteller, and he's amazing at putting things on the screen, especially for his time. Like this would have been groundbreaking, just disturbing to people. But there you go. I like movies like this now and again. I know of you know me, and I've watched a lot of cheesy stuff and I have a lot of fun, but movies like this are good because it's good to think, and it's good to look at the horror of humanity and see the elements that led down the path. And I think the sad part of this movie is there was a chance of redemption. There was a possibility of redemption dangled towards Martin, and it didn't happen. Events overtook him. Should he have been caught? Yes. He was, in the end, he was preying on the innocent. So he should have definitely been caught. It definitely had to go for a resolution. There's no happy ever after with this movie, if that makes sense. Because it couldn't be. He's done what he's done, and the victims didn't deserve it. But the shocking way that it did finish off, then that brings more questions. Is there more retribution to come? And you don't need a sequel to this freaking, this is the problem today. They would do this and then they would do a shitty sequel and they would make a franchise out of it and it would just be ridiculous. It's like Let the Right One In. That's another, because I see Dale in chat, and that's one we covered. And that's a disturbing, gripping movie. But then they made a TV show of it and it was sanitized to hell and it was horrendous. So I would say, yeah, this is a good one to watch. It's a movie of its time. Just be aware of that. Definitely give it a check out. And yeah, so they're useful how to conduct yourself in life because we'll have to function in society, like it or not. I can say I hate people and stuff, but at the same time, no man's an island. It's an old British thing, where we all need each other, or else we're just grubbing in the dirt. And who wants that? But there you go. That was a thoughtful one. Hope you enjoyed the review, and yeah, definitely check it out. I will be going on Evil Lives channel in a couple of hours, and we're going to be playing The Goonies. Never Say Die. It's a board game, so that'll be a lot of fun. So if you can, I'll post will be popping up soon. So check it out there. Just easy to say, keep up to date with the channel, do the typey clicky things. And until next time, keep it creepy, keep it horrific.